Everyone, and this is the Baron, and today we're going to discuss on how to have a really good recruiting plan. One of the things that's one of the major jobs uh, for the Chatelaine is to generate different and new ways to recruit. And that has everything to do from having a fighter's practice and have people come up and talk to being proactive and doing things like having a setup or a booth at some type of sci-fi convention, Comic-Con, anything like that, or even trying to recruit from your local colleges. I'll do another episode specifically on that. That's pretty much one of the things I did a long time ago, caused a lot of people to be recruited. So it's a great place to start. Get people who are still very new and young and have a lot of energy. Also, is a great way to get people into some of the major activities like fighting and dancing and things like that. But specifically, after you find something that you're going to do, and we're going to use just an example of a demo. You create a plan on what the demo is. Now, this is where you bring to the demo what you think is the best representation of your group. So you get the best fighters, the best weavers, the best cooks, whatever you have to show off pretty much what people can do. What you need to do after that is how to ensure that they stay in. And that's mainly what this class or discussion is going to be about. So once you already have a demo plan, now what you need to do is you need to ensure that you stay in contact. You find out what their interests are to generate what will happen next. Okay, so one of the best things to always have is business cards wherever you're doing a demo or anything like that. Therefore, people can go grab the cards of either the Chatelaine, the Seneschal, even the main fighting marshal, or someone like that. Someone who has seniority is always good. Next thing to also do is to have direct access to whatever social media you have. Therefore, you can go and say here, and you can have it on the business cards, this is our Facebook site. This is, if you have stuff on a YouTube channel, this is our YouTube channel. And even have like QR codes. It's those nice little square codes where you go, and from there, they can just take their phone, scan it, and boom, they have all the information about the people, the group right there and then. So those are nice, easy, and it's for the people who they don't like business cards because they take them, they forget about them or lose them. The QR codes make it so the information is right there on their phones or PDAs. The other thing is that is one way of giving them information, and that gives them opportunity to time to think and look. But you also need to get their information. Though that is the two key things. Provide them with everything, and you get everything from them. So phone numbers, email addresses, names. Most of the time, they're not going to want to give their address or anything like that. A long time ago, that was a very common thing because people were mailed stuff or things like that. Sometimes that gets a little personal for some people. So you just make it so that you can still give them or send them information. The other thing that comes into play is you need to find what interests them about the medieval ages, whether it is about fighting, whether it's about a specific culture, anything like that. And then you put that on that information sheet so you can find someone, oh, this person is huge into Polish persona. So then you find someone, hopefully in your group, or someone else within your region or your kingdom that has that information that you can get them into contact with. Stuff like that is very important because it shows them that we as a group are taking direct interest in their interests. So you go and you get all this information. Then the most important thing too is when someone gets interested in something, they want to be able to get a hook, okay? And that hook is within a week of that demo, you do something small. We used to call it a newbie moot. And what that is say, for example, that following Saturday. If you can't have it like a one day on a weekend, then usually like a Thursday night, usually not on a Wednesday or a Sunday. Those are usually more towards church night. So therefore you're going to lose some people. So one of the other nights of the week, if you can do it, say for about 3 or 4 hours, that's great. But if you can do it for an entire Saturday, that's even better. And what you do there is you create like a series of classes. So they can show up and then they sit down, and then you can give some classes specifically on what your group is, some of the way you do things, you can have like a PowerPoint or a video presentation of this is the stuff we've done in the last 2 years. These are the types of events. Anything that is a visual recognizer for, hey, this is what we do. Now they can imagine themselves in that type of environment. You're also getting to get some people that are going to be more geared towards certain things and not. Say, and I'm specifically what I mean by that is you're going to get people who are like, oh man, I love camping. And you're going to get people that hate camping. I don't like to get wet. I don't like to get cold. I don't like to get dirty. Okay, those are the ones that are be going to events where there's going to be a hotel, then they're going to go to an event that's indoors, everything like that. And that's fine. That's who they are. We have a tendency, everyone, sometimes of going, well, if you're not going to camp, then there's no real reason for you to. No, never say that. That is always a great way of getting people to not show up again, okay? You always encourage the people because eventually they will change. They will adapt. They will do things differently. That's just the way it is. So everyone needs to go in with an open mind and understand that, yeah, we might have been in for 5, 10, 20 years. They're brand new still. And we want to get them interested and keep them interested. So when you have these classes, that's also when you find out when you first meet them, what are they interested in? And then you have some of those classes that shows people what they're interested in. Usually good ones are, what are actually lords and ladies? This is what fighting is. This is what dancing is. These are some of the things we do for cooking. One of the first things that we usually do, or that I usually do, is teach everyone. Remember, a lot of them are still, I'm going to say, inexperienced, but unless they were really, really active at home and everything, they're now in a world where they are doing a whole bunch of things for the first time. And some of that might be even just cooking. So I usually have a class on basic flavored butters. So therefore, okay, we're going to make a garlic butter, a honey butter, and an herb butter. So I provide all the stuff. We usually get like a kitchen of some kind where we're having this, because like I said, usually it's nice to have a potluck. That's why it's a newbie moot, where everyone kind of shows up. It's new, but we also bring a potluck. So therefore, hey, we have these different types of dishes. Usually what happens is that when people go out, they do something, all right, we're having a meeting. What do they do after the meeting? They go out to eat. If you have a potluck, now all of a sudden you're creating not just a kind of like an educational or a meeting environment, you're getting to know of a personal nature. And food is a great way to do that. So having a potluck where everyone brings something in, and if it can be period, that's even better. Not a requirement. Um, but if you do that, then everyone has a class. They had either just a straight discussion, question and answer. They actually have a class where they can participate. Like I said, okay, we're gonna make butter. So I provide the butter, we do it in the kitchen. This is really good. And they take it home with them. Now all of a sudden, every time they see the honey butter or the garlic butter, they're like bringing it right back to that time, which is great. So when you go and sit down and talk, then you start bringing up, oh, this is what we do, or hey, where are you from? Oh my gosh, you know what? I grew up 30 miles from that place. And you start having a way of connecting at a different level. So you always want to keep on improving the situation. And then also, if you got a time, you can have a fighting demo. Or after you get done eating, you can do about an hour's worth of basic dances, things like that. So after you initially get the people interested and find out the information, you within a week make sure you have another thing to hook them. That is going to be the thing. If you say, oh yeah, this is what we do, and then you don't talk to them for 3 months, they're gone. Their memory is, maybe you'll get them back again, but you always want to try and make sure that if they're interested, you provide them an avenue of finding out more information. Now, one of the other things that can happen after that or in lieu of that is having things like this, where we're going to have a Zoom meeting for newbies. And at that point, you can get different people to discuss the exact same things. You can have them show pictures and PowerPoint through Zoom. It keeps the information going. And at which point you're like, all right, we're going to do this every Thursday night for an hour and a half, or maybe every other week. You shouldn't go more than 2 weeks at a time. You always want to get people set into a schedule. You want them to get the SCA into their schedule. So you go and you have these things that are set. If you have enough information, once every week is great. If you don't have enough, then once every 2 weeks. But if you start bringing out longer than that, people are going to be going, well, I have other stuff that I can put in here that's more important. So a Zoom meeting for newbies every week or every 2 weeks, but never longer than that. If it's once a month, people are going to forget about it. Now, the other thing that comes into play is how people relate, whether it is their persona that they want to develop pertaining to their specific activities or interests. What you want to do is you also have to create like a mentor for the individual new people. Now, what do I mean by that? Okay, you're going to want to understand both the positive and negative of everyone that shows up. Sometimes you're going to have people, and we've seen this a lot, where they just don't have a lot of money. Okay, we've all been there. Well, what can we do to stop that? Well, it's simple. We have loaner guard. Okay, so therefore we need to make sure a person has loaner guard. Or they might not have a vehicle. Well, we need to have someone, hey, that's okay. I'll get David to pick you up if that's okay. And then they'll take you to the meeting and take you back or whatever. You want to ensure that if there's an issue, you have a way to resolve it. And having a mentor that's usually going to be close to the same age or gender is also a beneficial thing, because there's going to be a lot of trust that's going to be created at that point. And you also get a chance for that person to say, well, hey, Cooper, how did you get involved, or how did you find about it? And then you're going to get another connection that's going to be created. So you always want to be able to have a comfortable space and environment where people can go meet, talk, not be afraid that they don't have a vehicle or they don't have a lot of money or anything like that. We all help each other out, and that's one of the best things about this group. So you go and create an environment where people want to keep on showing up. Or, hey, I'm going to do this, but this time I've been talking about this, and my girlfriend has finally said that she wants to show up. Okay, that's great. So figure out a way. And if they both don't have a vehicle, we'll get you someplace, and that's fine. If you want garb, we will get you garb. Either someone will have it, or the Chatelaine will have some uh, in the group loaner stuff, hopefully. If you want to do heavy or light fighting, same thing. Many times people go there and they're like, well, this is what I want to do, but there's no equipment, or there's equipment, but it's not that size. You need to be able to, at that point, do a level of training without complete what we call kit. Okay, you know what? We don't have legs that fit you, but what we will do is we'll put a helmet on you, and we will slowly escalate you into getting armor. So therefore, you are going to feel comfortable. So if we can put a helmet on you, you can now understand what it's like to have limited visibility, limited movement, a big massive weight on your head. And then you're going to figure out, okay, you know what? After a few times, okay, it's becoming much more natural. It's becoming easier. And then you just keep on adding pieces on as the person, the group, or a few individuals help make it. You are bringing the person up and escalating them into the group instead of just saying all or nothing, which is usually always a bad situation. Well, if you're going to come in here, you're going to need to spend at least $2,000 on clothes and camping gear. I have $2,000. Well, when you do, come back. No. We all had that time when we showed up in the worst outfits ever, because that's what we could afford. So we don't create a bad environment. You always want to make sure you provide an area where anyone that wants to can talk to a specific person. Determine that this area is not really what I want. Oh, I'm not really interested in Viking. I really want to do French. Okay, then we find someone that can do French. And then after that person teaches that person there, now we have a French person in our group that can now teach French stuff to new people. You always want to encourage the new people to be open and honest in what they can get from us, but also open and honest in what they can give back to the group. A lot of times people are like, oh, well, I've been in for 5 years and I just really don't know if I really know everything. No one knows everything. We're not going to hinder you. If someone wants to know about a Korean persona, all right, that person, and we have one person that is Korean, but they're not really, they don't feel comfortable that they should be able to teach Korean. Trust me, if you are Korean, you just have to explain to them, I don't know everything, but I do know that this is the type of outfits that they wore in late period. And the person would be like, oh, I really was hoping to do early period. You know what? How about if we just work it together? I get some more information about how my culture developed to the point that I'm at, and they get to learn their specific new culture that no one else has. It's good. You're creating a better understanding for both yourself and everyone else. And that's part of what teaching is. But it's also the most important aspect about mentoring. You're giving them the ability to create who they are. They get to have a friend that will sponsor them and support them, and teach them certain ways or certain online sites that, well, everything I got from this site. Hey, that's great. That person probably never even knew where that site existed before. So you're always giving them additional help. And that's always a great thing. So this is my first class about how to recruit, and it always comes up with a plan. There is nothing wrong with thinking about the best way to do it. And for me, it is starting from whatever event that you have, whether it's a demo, a sci-fi convention, a school campus activity, anything like that. So you create from the event. Then what you do is you follow up from that event within 1 week. That is going to be the best way to find out who is still interested and everything like that. And like I said, if you can do it as a newbie moot where everyone sits down and everything, that's great. But if you can't, then you do a Zoom meeting for beginners. And you do that within the first week, and you try and do it every week if possible. If you can't, no more than once every 2 weeks. And from there, you find a good mentor for each person. So if you want someone who's really interested in fighting, then you find a fighter to mentor the person. If someone's really into doing food, I'm sure there's a lot of people who do a lot of period cooking. You go and you find at least one or two. There's nothing that says you have to have one mentor. One mentor should be the key, but if you have more than one, that's great. The only problem that comes into play when you have multiple mentors is that one will do one way and one will do another. And therefore, some people might get a little confused or get a little conflict. So definitely one for sure. If you got two that can work together pretty well, then that's pretty good too. But try not to get mentors that conflict with each other. And like I said, those mentors should, if you have the capability, if you don't have the numbers and stuff like that, it happens. Try and get close to the same age and gender. Therefore, they have a better understanding, a better comfort level. And they're not like, oh man, why is this person picking me up? I feel weird that there's a 40-year-old person picking up a 19-year-old person. Why couldn't a 22-year-old pick up a 19-year-old of the same gender? Therefore, there's less conflict, or that person might think, man, this is weird. It's like my dad's picking me up, or my older sister is picking me up. You want to make sure that there's a comfort factor. So having a list of people that are comfortable being mentors is always a good thing within a group. And then after you start getting more and more people in, you're going to be able to have a bigger mentor pool to choose from. So that's always important. All right, I will end this for right now, but hopefully this has given you a chance to think about things. And when we have more meetings and more discussions like this, hopefully you can sit down with your group and say, what is our plan on recruiting and how do we implement certain things? Getting people in is always the best way to keep an organization growing, alive, full of energy, new ideas, everything like that. So it's always going to be a key no matter what. And it's not just one person's job. It really is everyone's job, whether they're doing the recruiting or whether they're doing part of the demo or they're volunteering as a mentor. It is an entire group's process. So thank you very much and hope everyone has a good night.